They will tell you life is a game of external forces, of luck, of timing, of resources. But they are wrong. Dead wrong. Life is a battle. And that battle is not waged out there in the chaos of the world, it's fought and won in silence, behind your eyes, within the fortress of your own mind. It is in your thoughts where empires rise and fall. It is in your beliefs where chains are either shattered or welded tighter. It is in your perception where storms become fuel or excuses become cages. Every dream you've ever had, every ounce of greatness you've ever felt inside you, it was never waiting in the world. It was waiting for you to claim dominion over your mind. Because until you conquer yourself, you will never conquer anything. The world bows not to the strongest, but to the most disciplined, the clearest, the most convicted. The man or woman who walks through fire and doesn't blink, because the fire within them burns hotter than anything outside. Every morning, when you wake up, the war begins. Not with your job. Not with your family. Not with your bills. The real enemy is the voice that says, stay in bed. You're tired. You'll fail. You're not ready. That voice is ancient. It's primal. It's the part of your mind built to protect you from pain, risk, and discomfort. But in protecting you, it robs you. It robs you of your destiny, of your power, of your becoming. And that's why the greats Carnegie, Ford, Disney, Lincoln, they weren't just men with dreams. They were warriors of the mind. They bled for belief. They built mental castles brick by brick. They trained their minds like soldiers train their bodies. Relentlessly. Without compromise. Because they knew, everything external is a reflection of what is internal. Ford didn't ask permission to disrupt the world. He didn't wait for resources or applause. He envisioned a world where every American family could own a car, and then he became the man who could bring that world into being. Through obsession. Through mental clarity. Through absolute, unshakable belief. And belief is not wishful thinking. Belief is forged in fire. It's built when you stare down failure and say, you don't get to define me. It's built when you are broke, tired, overlooked, and you still show up like a king. Because that's the truth, you don't become powerful and then think powerfully. You think powerfully, and then the world responds in kind. But most people, they lose the battle before it begins. They never even step onto the battlefield. They let fear write their story. They let doubt raise their children. They let the past poison their future. Because they never learned to rule their mind, they became a slave to it. And I say this to you not to shame you, but to wake you. Because you are not weak. You are not broken. You are not too far gone. You are simply untrained. Unarmed. Unaware of the nuclear power locked inside your own consciousness. You are not your thoughts. You are the master of them. And if you don't take that throne, someone else will. Social media. Trauma. The opinions of people who gave up on their own dreams years ago. The system wants your mind because it knows if it owns your mind, it owns your life. But if you reclaim it, if you dare to discipline it, everything changes. Discipline is not punishment. It is liberation. It is the act of declaring, I refuse to be ruled by impulses. I choose what I think. I choose what I believe. I choose who I become. When you start building that kind of mind, something miraculous happens. The world begins to bend. People start treating you differently. Opportunities start appearing where there were only walls before. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Clarity becomes your compass. You stop chasing 1,000 things and start pursuing one thing with everything in you. You stop reacting to life and begin creating life. Because a disciplined mind is the greatest creative force in the universe. It is the engine behind every invention, every revolution, every masterpiece ever birthed into this world. And it is yours. Not someday. Not after the degree. Not after the money. Not after someone validates you. It is yours the moment you decide to own it. And that decision, it is the great divide. The line between those who drift and those who dominate. between those who survive and those who lead. The mind, once claimed, becomes a forge. Every thought you hammer upon it becomes steel, belief hardened by repetition, fire tempered by action. And once your beliefs are forged in truth, you become unbreakable. But let me tell you what they won't: clarity is earned. It doesn't fall into your lap. It's not downloaded in a moment of inspiration. It's built through sweat, stillness, and sometimes suffering. You must sit in the storm of your confusion and carve your purpose out of the chaos. Abraham Lincoln didn't wait for certainty to guide the nation through war. He acted through torment. He led through sorrow. He battled crippling self-doubt, political enemies, and a country tearing itself apart, but he refused to lose the war within. He knew, if his vision remained clear, the nation could heal. That's the kind of mental strength that builds legacies. And here's the truth few accept: your mind is already creating. Right now. This second. Whether you guide it or not. Whether you're aware or not. Every fear you indulge, every excuse you repeat, every limitation you reinforce, that is creation. That is manifestation. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it mirrors what you project. If your internal dialogue is filled with scarcity, then scarcity is what you will attract, what you will tolerate, what you will normalize. But if you dare to speak abundance before the money, discipline before the applause, and gratitude before the comfort, then you flip the script. You take the pen back from the world, and you write your own damn story. This is not law of attraction fluff. This is mental warfare. It is the blueprint of every visionary who ever changed the course of history. They didn't start with better circumstances. They started with better commands to their own minds. You can feel it right now, can't you? The pull. The hunger. The knowing that you were never meant to be average. That you've been sleeping with a lion inside you while the world whispered lullabies of mediocrity in your ear. It's time to wake up. Because the battle intensifies the moment you rise. The moment you say, "I will not betray my potential again." That's when resistance comes for you. That's when the world tests you. The same people who praised you will doubt you. The same systems that fed you comfort will starve you of validation. But good. Let it all fall away. Let it all burn. Because when your mind no longer needs the world's approval, you become untouchable. And when you become untouchable, you become dangerous to every lie, every limitation, every shadow that ever told you to stay small. This is what it means to be self-made. Not just in business. In thought. In action. In being. Because self-mastery is not a destination. It is a daily decision. You win the war in your mind one morning at a time. One disciplined hour at a time. One rejection that you refuse to take personally. One failure that you choose to turn into fuel. And yes, it is lonely. Because mastery requires silence. And silence is where most people panic. But not you. Not anymore. You'll learn to love the silence. You'll learn to listen in it. You'll find your power not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet of your conviction. And once you find that stillness, that center, nothing can touch you. You could lose the job, the house, the relationship, but you won't lose you. Because your identity is no longer built on sand. It's built on the stone of truth. And the truth is this: you were born to rise. You were built to win. Not through force, not through domination, but through absolute alignment of thought, belief, and action. So many chase strategies, hacks, shortcuts. They build towers on broken foundations, then wonder why everything collapses. But not you. You are going inward. You are rebuilding the source. Because you now understand, every weakness in the world is first a weakness in the mind. And every victory in the world is first a victory in the soul. So let the world throw its storms. Let the economy shake. Let people doubt. Let the noise rise like thunder. You will not flinch. You will not fold. Because you are no longer reacting to life, you are responding with purpose. And purpose is your armor. Purpose is the one thing that chaos cannot corrupt. When you have a reason that transcends comfort, you no longer fear discomfort. You welcome it. You learn to suffer well. Because suffering without purpose breaks a man. But suffering with purpose builds him. That's what separates the spectators from the champions. Look at Nelson Mandela, locked in a prison cell for 27 years. Stripped of freedom, stripped of family. But what they could not strip from him was his mind. He emerged not bitter, not broken, but forged. Sharper. Clearer. More powerful. Because he never stopped winning the war within. Do you understand now? The battle is not in your job, your status, your finances, or your environment. The battle is in your self-talk. It's in your habits. It's in how you show up when no one's watching. It's in what you tolerate from yourself when life gets dark. Because every decision you make is a vote for who you become. So how do you win that war? You discipline your focus. You guard your thoughts like gold. You no longer allow lazy thinking, victimhood, or mental clutter to live rent-free in your consciousness. You audit your influences. You silence the voices that shrink you. You replace every excuse with action. Every doubt with intention. Every complaint with gratitude. Gratitude, yes, gratitude. Because even in war, a warrior smiles. Not because the fight is easy, but because he's ready. Gratitude is not just for the good days. Gratitude is the weapon of those who see clearly, even when the path is dark. When you are grateful, you are powerful. You are no longer operating from lack, from fear, from comparison. You are tuned into the abundance of now. And from that frequency, creation flows. You begin to walk different. Think different. Command different energy. Because you are no longer seeking proof, you are the proof. And when you walk with that kind of internal alignment, the world begins to respond differently to you. Not because it changed, but because you changed your frequency. Your mind is no longer a battlefield, it is a command center. A place of certainty, of order, of vision. And vision is what separates leaders from the lost. Vision is the ability to see what is not yet visible. It is the eyes of the soul. It is the engine that turns ordinary men into legends. Walt Disney walked through acres of swampland and saw castles. He was mocked, ridiculed, bankrupted, and still, he built the most visited place on earth. Why? Because his inner world was stronger than the outer resistance. He had already seen the magic long before anyone else believed. Because that's how vision works, it leads, and then the world follows. You need that kind of vision. And then you hold that vision. You fight for it. You protect it like a sacred flame. Not every day will feel inspired. But every day must be disciplined. Because discipline is love in action. Discipline is saying, I love my future enough to suffer for it today. It is choosing alignment over ease. It is showing up when you're tired, when you're doubted, when you failed, because your why is bigger than your wounds. You don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to bleed for. And most people never bleed for anything real. They bleed for the approval of others. For image. For distractions. But you, if you're ready, you bleed for meaning. For mission. For something that echoes beyond your name. Because deep down, you don't want a life of comfort. You want a life of consequence. A life where your existence mattered. And that begins by mastering the only thing that truly belongs to you, your mind. Your mind is your kingdom. And if you do not rule it with clarity, intention, and force, then something else will. Fear will crown itself king. Distraction will become your advisor. Comfort will become your executioner. And slowly, without a sound, your life will begin to shrink. Not because you weren't capable, but because you never took the throne. Look around you, look at the world. How many people are living lives they never chose? How many dreams lie buried beneath comfort zones, beneath the need to be liked, beneath the fear of failure? This world doesn't need more compliance. It doesn't need more people nodding quietly while their fire dies out inside them. This world needs you, the real you. Unapologetic. Unfiltered. Unchained from the lies you were sold. But here's the truth, the version of you that will change the world is not born, it is forged. Forged in the furnace of discomfort. Forged in the discipline of focus. Forged in the silence where others look for noise. You don't find that version of you by accident. You find it by deciding that your past is not your future, that your current circumstances are not your identity, and that your mind is no longer a playground for doubt, but a battlefield for dominion. Every time you rise early while your body begs for sleep, you are winning. Every time you say no to temptation and yes to growth, you are winning. Every time you silence the voice that says you can't, and take one more step forward, you are winning. Because the world's resistance is nothing compared to your mind's resistance. And if you can win there, if you can overcome you, then no man, no system, no storm can ever take what's yours. This is the difference between those who try and those who transform. Trying is external. Temporary. Weak-willed. Transformation? That's internal. Unstoppable. It is the quiet promise you make to yourself and keep even when no one is watching. You want power? Earn it. Earn it through consistency. Earn it through sacrifice. Earn it by showing up when every cell in your body screams, not today. Because that moment, that precise moment, is the battlefield. That is the war. And if you win it, even once, you plant a seed. Win it twice, and the roots grow deeper. Win it every day, and you become something the world cannot shake. Not a product of society, but a force of nature. That is who you are. And that is who you must now become. It doesn't matter if no one sees you now. It doesn't matter if the results are invisible. The roots grow long before the fruit is visible. The unseen work is the only work that matters. Too many people want to be loud before they are solid. Don't be one of them. Be the one who builds in silence. Who trains in obscurity. Who becomes undeniable through discipline, not noise. Because when you walk into a room with a mind that is mastered, you don't have to announce yourself. Power recognizes power. It feels you before you speak. It sees you in your stillness. It hears you in your clarity. And it bows not to your name, but to your inner alignment. And that alignment? That is everything. Because when your thoughts, your words, your habits, and your purpose all move in the same direction, you become a walking miracle. The doubts fall off. The distractions lose their grip. The world begins to move out of your way, not because it's easier, but because you have become immovable. That is what happens when you win the battle in your mind. That is what happens when you finally take full command. So don't look outward for confirmation. Don't ask the world for permission. Ask yourself, do I trust me? Do I believe in what I can become? Am I willing to suffer in private so I can live in purpose in public? If the answer is yes, then the world is already yours. Because the war is not won with applause. It is won with discipline. It is won in the darkness. It is won in the silence. It is won in the mind. You see, the reason most never change their lives is because they never change their minds. They change their clothes. They change their jobs. They change the people around them. But the operating system, the mind, remains the same. Outdated. Fear-based. Scarcity-driven. And until you upgrade that system, nothing outside will ever feel like enough. You'll chase money and feel empty. Chase attention and feel invisible. Chase success and feel like a fraud. Because the root hasn't changed. The code is still corrupted by old beliefs, beliefs that were never yours to begin with. You inherited them. From your family. From your culture. From a society that sells comfort and calls it happiness. But you're not here to inherit. You're here to reclaim. Reclaim your sovereignty. Reclaim your mental territory. Reclaim the fire that was buried under. Be realistic, play it safe, and fit in. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to rise. And rising begins by rewiring. Rewiring how you speak to yourself. Rewiring how you see failure. Rewiring what you tolerate. Because your standards are not preferences. They are declarations. When you raise your standards, you raise your life. Not immediately. Not magically. But undeniably. Because when your mind is locked into a new identity, your actions follow. And when your actions follow, results come not by force, but by flow. This is not about hustling for approval. This is about aligning with truth. It's about becoming so convicted in your mission that you no longer beg for focus, you are focus. So dial in. Strip away everything that's not aligned. That social media habit? Cut it. That late night compromise? Replace it. That friendship rooted in shared weakness? Bless it and release it. Because you cannot win the war in your mind if you keep entertaining the enemy at your table. This isn't about being cold. This is about being clear. Clarity is the sharpest weapon you own. And it doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. From testing. From failing forward. From making the hard choices that turn boys into warriors and dreamers into legends. And when you operate with clarity, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You don't ask, should I go to the gym today? You ask, who am I becoming today? You don't ask, is this hard? You ask, is this worth it? And every time the answer is yes, you move. No fanfare. No drama. Just motion. Just momentum. Just the silent grind that reshapes your brain and rewrites your destiny. This is how giants are built. Not by doing extraordinary things once, but by doing the ordinary with extraordinary discipline. Every single day. And let me be clear, discipline is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of it. You will feel tired. You will feel doubt. You will feel resistance. Good. Let it come. But do not let it lead. Let your purpose lead. Let your future lead. Let the version of you that already won the war call the shots. Because that version of you? It's already alive. Right now. It exists in potential. Waiting. Watching. Ready to emerge the moment you stop betraying yourself. You've tasted what it feels like to drift. You've felt the sting of regret. You've known what it's like to shrink. But you also know what it feels like to rise. You know that feeling when you keep your promise to yourself. When you finish what you started. When you wake up with clarity, train with intensity, move with purpose, and sleep in peace. That's the high no drug can match. That's the fire no fear can extinguish. And it's yours. If you want it. If you fight for it. But make no mistake, you will have to fight. Because the old you will not go quietly. The old patterns will scream. The old comforts will tempt. The old self will beg you to return.